Today marks the 16th anniversary of the death of Dr Zenzile Miriam Makeba, widely known as Mama Africa. She left several iconic songs and performances engraved in our memories. The icon spent much of her life inspiring us with her music and humanitarian efforts, having served as a UN Humanitarian and Goodwill ambassador. For more on her legacy, we're now joined by Pan-Africanist human rights activist, advocate Sipho Mantula, and he joins us now via our video link. Advocate, thank you so much for your time this evening here in SABC News. Of course, today a very important day for us as South Africans as we remember the lives and times of Mam Miriam Makeba. How should we reflect on a day like this?
Evening, Mbali. Even to viewers. Mbali, I think it is a global commemorative day and a continental commemorative day of Miriam Makeba. The way we should commemorate him, simply, as we have said, we are listening to her music, but I think as a country we have not made an honor to can create a memory and imagination of Zenzile Miriam Makeba. Beyond naming streets after her is the issue of taking care of her legacy. Remember, Mbali, if you have read one of his books, one of her passions, as we have said, was to take care of the young girl child and a young boy child. Secondly, she was involved on issues that affect the continent, whether food insecurity, whether conflicts. As we see now, Mbali, there's a conflict in Mozambique, and a song that will come to our mind, all of us, is Aluta Continua, but this time it's in a different tune. It's a luta continua for the people of Mozambique, not only for Frelimo. Secondly, Mbali, how we can remember her, there are many plays, documentaries that have never been captured about this life and times of Dr. Miriam Makeba, who went to exile, Mbali, at a young age, came back when she was almost at this age of 64, 65. She didn't stay long in this country to be given the honors that were due to her. So it is still sad whenever we are talking about the passing of Miriam Makeba in Italy, and how back at his home she was never honored in that great manner. So it is very important for us to always even put her music, her legacy into a school curriculum, because some of her work was very important. The body of her works, you know, you'll find Miriam Makeba was multilingual. I think if you have listened to most of his songs, you'll find that he will sing in Sesotho, he will sing in isiZulu, isiXhosa, he will go in French, he will go in Portuguese, he will go in Arabic. So you could see the multifaceted of Dr. Zenzile Miriam Makeba, that we are owing it to our present generation and our future generation.
And advocate, you keep on talking about, preserving her history and, ensuring that many South Africans for generations to come will continue to learn more about Miriam Makeba. How important is it for us to keep her memory alive? And, even for generations to come, they'll always know about, the life of Miriam Makeba and the role she played in our country's liberation.
But the very important question that you are raising, it is also marking 60 years this year, 2024. She appeared before the United Nations in 1964. She appeared in 1963, twice appearing before the global community, pleading for our case, the question of apartheid, questioning and calling upon the nation to put sanctions against the then apartheid South Africa. And secondly, as you have said, her music, her work should be, like I say, immortalized, should be put into our body curriculum, our school curriculum. Some of her work also, if you look in terms of humanitarian aid in the African continent, could be emulated by many national NGOs that are pushing this concept of an African humanity. Secondly, Mbali, I think one of her work is very important when you look at the body of international relations. Our cultural diplomats need to emulate the character, the shape and form of Dr. Miriam Makeba, how she was dealing with many conflicts that were in the African continent. So it is important for us never to forget the legacy, never to forget the deeds and the works that Miriam Makeba did for this country and broadly for this continent. Like I've said to you, she returned in 1990. And only in 2008, on this day, she lost her life, meaning she lived for almost 20 years to see the freedom and the fruits of the liberation of this country. But like I have said to you, she was like a prophetess, a heroine who was never honored by her own countrymen.
And Advocate, you keep on touching on the role she played, not only for South Africa, but the African continent. Maybe if you can share some of the anecdotes there when it comes to the role she played, not only for the people of South Africa, but for the African continent at large.
My dear sister, when you mentioned earlier in your intro that she was an ambassador for Goodwill of Peace, that's when the former President Thabo Mbeki appointed her. One of her roles was also to deal with the humanitarian crisis, the food insecurity that was in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You look at the conflicts that were in Somalia. You look at the conflict that were in Burundi. Particularly, I will cover on the Great Lakes because that's where her impact was. And even on her last days, Mbali, when she went to Italy, it was for a campaign, a social campaign against the gangster in that town of Casareta. Meaning when she died even on the stage, when she even had to collapse on the stage and to be taken to the hospital, she was on that fighting spirit of humanitarian aid. And that's how when you look in the African continent, her impact was also felt when her only daughter, Bongi Makeba, composed a song for her of Aluta Continua that I've said to you earlier, to join the struggle of people of Frelimo, of Mozambique. I know another song that is very important for the people of West Africa, Murtala. He was talking about the question of West Africa, the question of Angola also. When you look when Angola was going through the tough times during the time of UNITA, MPLA, again, you find that there is a powerful song that he talks about the crisis that was going on during that time. So you could pick up, Mbali, that most of her songs was also part of her struggle that she was able to use and to share with the global community. And she was an actress also, Mbali. I think for me, in the continent is also to look at, she was multifaceted in the sense that she was also an actress, if you remember, of the Cry Freedom, where she appeared on that part, showing the challenges that even domestic workers faced in the then apartheid South Africa.
And Sipho, I recently came across, a video on social media of the home of Miriam Makeba, and how dilapidated it is and how it's being used by some people who are homeless, and it's being used as a drug den for others. And it really talks to what you've been talking about, that we're not doing enough to preserve the history of our heroes and also our liberators. It really does. It is quite painful, to see her home in that state.
Unfortunate story, Mbali, and actually I spoke to some of the family members about it. Sometimes journalists will say it is the home of Miriam Makeba, while it is the portion of the house that you have tenants who are irresponsible, negligent. And again, you might say that the journalist who took that story, City Press, I can say to you, it was irresponsible. Even if they didn't get the family members, they don't know whether the family members are still in the country. They are either traveling, and they are putting threat to the life of the family in terms of their security. And for me, it was also unfair that this is the week where we are remembering Miriam Makeba, but we are exposing, or we are trying to be trendy, or to having what we call a breaking story, when actually it's a dividing story. It is dividing South Africans. It's also pushing South Africans to be angry and questioning whether is the state serious about preserving the legacy of our heroines and our heroes. And like I said to you, Mbali, that incident, it also shows the issue of how do we preserve the homes and the sacred sites of our heroes and heroines. And like I said to you, I think the family and the foundation is still planning how will they respond to such irresponsible reporting from one of the leading newspapers.
All right, Sipho, thank you so much for your time and, some of the clarification there that has been doing the rounds, of course, in the news when it comes to Miriam Makeba's home and, of course, her legacy. And, of course, this is as we remember the life that she has lived on this day, the 16th anniversary of Zenzile Miriam Makeba.